The story begins with a girl named Sophie, a quiet teenager, riding in the backseat of a car with her parents. The family is traveling to an old, isolated holiday rental house deep in the woods for Christmas Eve. The house, known as Santa's Hollow, has been abandoned for decades, but her parents rented it at a suspiciously low price. The car drives down a winding road surrounded by towering pines until they reach the house, a long, sprawling structure with boarded-up windows and a sagging roof. A broken, rusted Santa Claus statue stands in the yard, his painted smile cracked and eerie. The family enters the house, and Sophie immediately feels uneasy. The air smells faintly of pine mixed with something rotten. The long hallways are lined with dusty Christmas decorations, garlands drooping, ornaments broken, and dim fairy lights flickering ominously. In the main living room, an ancient Christmas tree stands adorned with tattered decorations. Beneath it lies a single gift box wrapped in red and gold paper. When Sophie picks up the box, her parents warn her to leave it alone, but curiosity gets the better of her. She opens it and finds a Santa costume, complete with a beard and hat. The fabric is stained, and the smell of iron wafts from it. Her parents dismiss the discovery, laughing nervously, but Sophie can't shake the feeling that something is watching them. That night, as the family sits by the fireplace, Sophie hears faint jingling bells echoing from the long hallway. Her parents hear nothing and insist she's imagining things. As Sophie tries to sleep in her upstairs bedroom, she hears a thudding noise coming from the attic above her. The jingling bells grow louder, accompanied by a faint, distorted ho, ho, ho. Trembling, Sophie grabs a flashlight and decides to investigate. In the attic, she finds dusty boxes filled with old holiday items. At the far corner, her flashlight illuminates a figure, a man in a Santa suit. His back is turned, and he sways slightly, his gloved hands clutching a burlap sack. Before Sophie can scream, the figure turns to reveal hollow eye sockets and a gaping mouth filled with jagged, yellow teeth. He lunges, but Sophie stumbles back and slams the attic door shut, running to wake her parents. Her parents search the attic but find nothing. They blame Sophie's imagination and suggest she get some sleep. As Sophie reluctantly returns to her room, she notices the Santa costume from the gift box is now hanging on her closet door, even though she left it downstairs. The next day, the family explores the house. Sophie's mother finds an old guest book, and inside it are scribbled notes from past visitors. The entries mention strange occurrences, footsteps in the night, missing family members, and a shadowy figure in a Santa suit. Sophie's father dismisses the book as a prank, but Sophie grows more paranoid. That evening, as they prepare for Christmas dinner, the house's long hallway begins to stretch unnaturally. What once seemed like a simple corridor now feels endless. Sophie hears heavy boots stomping behind her, but when she turns, no one is there. The family sits down for dinner, but the festive mood is quickly shattered when the Santa figure appears at the end of the hallway, dragging his sack. He doesn't move, just stands there, staring at the family. Sophie screams, but her parents insist it's just a shadow. When Sophie blinks, the figure is gone. Later that night, Sophie hears her father screaming. She runs to the living room to find him gone. The only thing left is his slipper, lying beside the Santa costume, which is now spread out across the floor. Her mother frantically searches the house, but the long hallway continues to stretch, twisting into unnatural angles. Sophie realizes the burlap sack carried by the Santa figure wasn't filled with toys, it was filled with people. She recalls the ghostly entries in the guest book and realizes the house is feeding on its inhabitants, collecting them one by one. Sophie's mother disappears next, leaving behind a broken ornament from the Christmas tree. Sophie is now alone. Determined to survive, Sophie dons the cursed Santa suit, hoping to confront the entity on its terms. The suit feels alive, constricting her movements, and she hears whispers of the previous victims urging her to leave. She ventures into the long hallway, now completely unrecognizable, with walls that pulsate like living flesh. At the end of the hallway, she finds the Santa figure standing before a massive fireplace. The burlap sack writhes, filled with trapped souls. Sophie screams at the entity, demanding it release her family. The Santa figure tilts its head, then lunges. Sophie grabs a broken piece of garland and fights back, managing to pull the sack away. As she drags it toward the fireplace, the Santa figure lets out an unearthly roar. Sophie throws the sack into the flames, and the house begins to shake violently. Sophie wakes up in the snow outside the house, clutching her parents' hands. As they drive away, Sophie glances back. In the rearview mirror, she sees the Santa figure standing in the distance, holding his sack. The faint sound of jingling bells follows them into the night. The screen fades to black, with the haunting phrase appearing in red text, "Not all gifts are meant to be opened."